Hello YouTube, this is Dark Emissary 617, and today is my Ben 10 Reboot review of the Ben 10 Reboot villain, Smythe. As you see, he comes with his scorpion stinger, which we'll be getting into that shortly. But first, let me talk a little bit about this guy, because unlike the previous video I did on Hex, Smythe is a completely new villain. He never existed until now. So this is how Smythe looks in the show. Even though it says like Smith, he always says Smythe in the show. And for some reason, because of his animation style and how he looks, I always thought he amusingly kind of looks like a villain who could have been from Phineas and Ferb, believe it or not. So you could pause there, and you could also pause here. His bio actually mentions his first appearance in the show, which was he was the one behind the Clocktopus. So that's a pretty nice nod to the show. And on the back it shows all the figures that I've already shown on Hex's box, so you can see that if you want to know. But it's pretty self-explanatory what's in the line. Anyways, let's take a good look at Smythe himself. And overall, once again, Playmates delivered very well with this toy line. I am so surprised they're doing this good with all the figures, even the villains. And this is why I am so stoked for Dr. Animo. But enough about Animo and all the other upcoming plans for the future. Let's take a good look at Smythe. He looks very accurate to his cartoon design. He actually has his pupils painted, and he actually has like the orange eyebrows and his goatee, which goes all around his face. And he had this, one thing I like about him is he has this really cool steampunk look to him, which I like. He was all about retro old stuff and kind of wants to destroy modern technology and bring back the old days. So I don't necessarily like his motives per se, but he has a very cool design. He has this cool steampunk jacket, which the shoulder pads actually do move up for the articulation to help with. He has like this collar around his neck with some tubes attached to his coat, and has this cool looking tech-like gear on his belt. And he just has a very nifty design. I actually like it. I wasn't too fond of him at first, but I've started to find that I'm actually growing quite a liking to this guy. He's pretty cool. Articulation is, once again, not too shabby. Like, his head does turn a little bit, but not by much, because he has a very hunched over design, and his head does come off if you try too hard to move it any further. His arms actually have some pretty good motion. Even with the shoulder pads, you can swivel them all around. And he just is actually got some great articulation in the shoulders. His elbow works very well, and he has a swivel at the forearm, which works like a wrist joint. And for his legs, they're kind of hindered. Like, there's a bit of a swivel there, and there is a knee, and the knees themselves can swivel, kind of. But that's it, no ankle articulation, which is fine, because he has a pretty stubby and pudgy design anyway. And I do love that top hat. Like, that top hat is so cool. I love the gold, bronze-ish color with the maroon-ish color with the red-ish. It's kind of like, and the little green, like the green bulb at the top kind of thing, like little bolts, I guess. So overall, I'm very happy with how this figure turned out. And as for the back, he has a hole because you have to attach his scorpion stinger, which, before I attach this, it has some good motion as well. This part moves well, and the middle part, and even the drill itself, so there is a lot of motion to it, actually. I do like that. Quick disclaimer though, when I detached it to show off how it attaches on, it's kind of wobbly there, and I'm kind of nervous it might break if you're not careful, so be very cautious on how you attach it. And I'm not gonna lie, before I do this, I'm gonna quickly warn you, this is actually very frustrating to put on, but basically what you want to do is you kind of want to like push it down like there, and kind of like let it line up under his shoulders. And you just kind of want to like slide it in there, attaching like that, and then the shoulders will actually, then the clips will go over like that. It worked better now, but the first time I tried, it was a pain. I'm not gonna lie there. Unfortunately, because they're now attached, the scorpion stinger is now attached, His shoulder pads are kind of more hindered now than before, but they're still able to move up slightly, so pretty good design there. And the scorpion stinger, as you can see, actually makes him look a lot taller, but he's actually relatively short compared to Hex. In fact, for the sake of scaling, let me go pull out Hex and show you what I mean. Here's how Steam Smythe looks next to Hex. Like, he seems tall like Hex, but because his top hat's so tall, it makes him look like he's the same height, but he is shorter. So overall, he may be a bit of an annoying villain, but actually, I thought he was a pretty fun figure, and I'm starting to appreciate this guy a lot more. Especially because this is the first villain to be in the reboot to get a figure, so that's very commendable for him. And so, keep an eye out for him though, because he's the hardest figure to find from what I can tell. He is apparently the rarest figure in this line, which I understand because villains don't tend to get as much packing in the boxes, unlike Ben and the heroes and the aliens or whatever. So, anyways, I highly recommend you pick him up. You should go to Toys R Us or ToysRUs.com and wait for him to come back in stock whenever he does, because he's a cool figure. And that's been my review